If you are watching this and it is not yet after the 28th of February, Friday, at 8 p.m. CET or 2 p.m. EST, good news. As you can see in the bottom right, the Gamer Subs sale is still going on. 21% off everything site-wide, including delicious Gamer Subs formula like Cherry Lime Skull. It's one of my favourite flavours. Check out my tier list on my main YouTube channel if you want other flavour suggestions. Instead of the usual 10% off with the code Thorin, Thorin, you get 21% off. Obviously, check when it is. By the way, if the sale's over, you can still get 10% off using the code and get yourself some. You can also get the caffeine-free one, the AFK blend, the Gamer Teas, all that jazz. Now, I'm going to do a tier list this time musically. I'm going to do one about the hip-hop. In theory, it's a duo, but it's at times been a trio and had more people. Jedi Mind Tricks. So mainly it's Vinnie Paz, who's the lyricist and the rapper, and then it's obviously Stoop, the Enemy of Mankind, who is the producer of the group. Except he didn't technically produce one of the albums, but we'll get to that. So the interesting thing is going to be the following. I couldn't on Tiermaker find one of just Jedi Mind Tricks albums alone, because if you type in Jedi Mind Tricks, you find a million tier things about Jedis. But I did find this one. We're up to 2024. It has all of the Jedi Mind Tricks albums, all of Vinnie Paz's solo albums, all of the Army of the Pharaohs, like mixtapes and albums, which is like Vinnie Paz, sometimes Stoop, and other assorted people. And then all of whatever this one, Heavy Metal Kings, which is Vinnie Paz and whatever his name is, Bill, whatever the fuck his name is. He's like not a bad producer himself. So I'm just going to pick out the Jedi Mind Tricks ones, and those are the ones I'm going to rank. There we go. You can see that. We'll go down to here. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 albums. We are just going to pick out these albums. So I'm just going to quickly check which each one of these are. I know some of them by sight, but the images are quite small. These are the ones I'm going to rank. So first things first, Jedi Mind Tricks would be one of my favourite hip-hop groups, easily. I mean, they have some fantastic albums. I also think they're a group that has gotten better and better with the years, but I also think their best material actually is in the middle. They almost do sort of like a bell curve, but they never come like down to the bottom again. It's just it goes up and then it just sort of goes down a little bit, or it just stays at that level and goes a little bit down. Crucially, and this is a key thing because you'll hear when I get into it, the way I got into this group was I actually listened to a lot of other material. Immortal Technique back in the day, Diabolic, what else? Lost Children of Babylon. I was listening to a lot of people that was around similar people, did like features with each other, etc. And basically, I remember hearing the first 2 or 3 Jedi Mind Tricks albums. And the key thing is this. Everyone else seems to love Jedi Mind Tricks for Vinnie Paz, the bombastic frontman who has flexed all sorts of topics. He was very early on in his career, massively into conspiracy theories, including a lot of like stuff that's been out there for some of you. In latter days, he's flexed being a Muslim. He's got, and the fact that he's got like depression or something like that, and anxiety, and experiences derealization. He's gone all over the place. He does like hard body rap, boom bap, and sort of like, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to slit your throat, blah, blah, blah. Then he also does rap that'll be like that amazing one he did. Let me just double check what that would even be called. Let me quickly find out. He did that amazing track where they were never able to clear the sample. It was on a mixtape. Look it up on YouTube. It was called Same Story by Anno Domini Beats. And it's one where he basically tells the story of like his adoptive stepfather and the hell that he went through. It's fucking an incredible, like moving piece of almost poetry about supposedly a real life scenario. So over their careers, he's covered the range of topics, all sorts of different angles. But the most interesting thing for me is this. Everyone else with music seems to always latch onto the lead singer, what they're saying, and just because they like the music and they like the sound of it, everything about him is amazing, a 10 out of 10. I don't think that at all. In fact, the funny thing is, I would say, if I look at the Jedi Mind Tricks discography, I actually think he didn't even get good at rapping until this album in 2006. All before, like this album here, is actually quite infantile, his rapping style. He doesn't particularly have a very good flow. His voice doesn't even sound as good. It's a lot sort of more high-pitched at the time. He's got a lot of interesting material, but it's also scattershot. It's just rapid-fire conspiracy bars. There's not like the same craft and workmanship. For the early years, I was into Stoop, the Enemy of Mankind. He was unbelievable. The first album, he has some interesting stuff on. Then, by the time the second or third album, he's already doing like these amazing Latin influences, the hard rap stuff, where he's like, you can tell some of it's like hardware produced. Eventually, it got into computers. He's doing stuff that's actually fucking like really, really good for production. I think producers, the secret of rap, the dirty secret is the producers are the stars usually. It's not a lot of the rappers, like, by the way, 50 Cent isn't even a particularly good rapper, but I'll tell you what, if Dr. Dre produces shit, it's going to be straight fire, isn't it? Because Dr. Dre is an amazing producer who can put amazing sounds behind it. The music carries so much of commercial rap. This isn't like commercial rap, by the way. It'd be sort of like alternate or almost indie rap, because if you think about like Baby Grand records that they're on or whatever. So, but in the early years, the production carried so much of it. Then, as I'll say, he started around like here to get like, that's getting more interesting. By 2006 onwards, Vinnie Paz really had developed his flow. He slowed down a little bit. He actually got some better sort of breath control. His actual ability to even do different rhyming schemes became better. He became a lot more poetic and sort of evocative with his style of writing. He toned down a little bit of conspiracy shit and then mixed it with like social commentary, things about his own life, what actually like philosophical and religious concepts, etc. And it became a lot less about like, hey, I basically read this, the recent like Valeria book or whatever the fuck that guy's called, about all this crazy shit. And he would stack some of that in there, and he'd certainly do songs like that. But actually, for me, he raised his bar, and he's still not an all-time great rapper in terms of like technical ability. But I do now think he can be an all-time great rapper from here onwards and in his solo stuff for his material and his ability to stay within the lines sometimes and deliver it well. He actually got really good at that from then on. But before that, and the whole time, it's always been about Stoop the Enemy and Man of Mankind for me, which is why when they did this album here, Violence Begets Violence, where Vinnie had like a beef with him because he was busy doing a different project at the time, he made this album almost spitefully without Stoop the Enemy of Mankind. So even though, by the way, he gets a whole bunch of young fucking producers that are really hungry and do some pretty cool beats, especially for like hard body rap, it doesn't have the same feel as a Jedi Mind Tricks album. It doesn't have that like iconic track that's like haunting sort of like production behind it, or like mirrors. It's all very much like it says there, Violence Begets Violence. It's a really sort of like hardcore album. It's really going hard. But for me, it was more like a mixtape or an Army of the Pharaohs or a Vinnie Paz solo album even. And also, I'll just throw this in there. Some of you earlier on might go, what do you mean it's a duo? What about Just Allah? My God, if I could fucking have the albums and have AI remove Just Allah, I would do it tomorrow. That guy is fucking dog shit at rapping. He has nothing I find interesting. As far as I can tell, his entire shit is off like people thinking he has swag or something. He is a trash rapper. His imagery is non-existent. His rapping is non-existent. He doesn't even use particularly like interesting rhyme schemes. His technical flow is trash. He never got good. And when they bring him back for this album, it's like, I genuinely sometimes skip songs when it gets to his verse. They're that fucking bad. Even though Vinny's already cooking at this point in time, and some of the guest rappers they have on are pretty fucking cool. By the way, generally features are very good, aside from Just Allah, on these albums. So everything else after that, Stoop the Enemy of Mankind came back, all the rest go forward. So let's get into it, okay? The first album, I'll go in chronological order, is this one, the one that was from 1997. It's called the Psychosocial, Chemical, Biological, and Electromagnetic Manipulation of Human Consciousness. If you search that, you will basically find it comes from like a conspiracy pamphlet or book or something like that, which, by the way, interesting material and certainly interesting fodder for rap, right? Instead of it just being about the streets and killing you with a big strap, although there's definitely a lot of that in Jedi Mind Tricks, and especially later on, once he kind of gets the swag, Vinnie Paz. So this was a very, very raw album. As you can see here, look when some of the stuff was recorded. So this one, for me, it is very much like an amateurish album. It's not at all like an actual... Look, see, it's from this... there you go, Valerian. From like a... Not even super famous, but... within the conspiracy world, this is a known person who did a lot of quite out there conspiracy material. And so the album itself, look, has some pretty good, even in this era, it has some pretty good features. If you know some of these people, Apathy's pretty sick. Lost Children of Babylon are pretty cool. Has a lot of tracks too. The problem is, it's probably the worst album. Like, it was all right at the time. I was interested because of the material. I'm not going to say anything's bad here. I don't think any of these albums that Jedi Mind Tricks did are bad, but this is the worst one, and it's the one I listen to the least. I very rarely ever go back to this one. I mean, is there even like a standout classic track on this one? Not really. Maybe stuff like these early ones. A couple of these are all right. Three Immortals, Chinese Water Torture. This one's not bad with Lost Children of Babylon. But generally, there's not really classics on this one. So then we will come to Violet by Design, which is already where Stoop really... By the way, Stoop himself wasn't that good on the first album. He already is cooking by now. He is really going fucking hard at this point in time. So That is going to be this one here. Oh, it's in actual chronological order. Perfect. And this is the album where Just Allah joins them, sadly. Here's the thing, because Vinnie himself wasn't as good with his floor, it wasn't as noticeable how bad Just Allah is. It just really later on when Vinnie and Stupa up here, like 9 and 10 out of 10 sort of level performance, that guy really stands out as trash. This already is a good album, but it's mainly from the production. Like, you can just start up here. You've already got some really good pieces. Genghis Khan, classic track. Heavenly Divine remix. Heavenly Divine itself, by the way, is a banger. Steadily Shining 99, one of the most famous ones they did. Eye Against Eye was good with Planetary, which is a different rap group that Vinnie Paz previously has been a feature on himself. Death March was good. This has already got some pretty good tracks on. Still, not many of them are like the all-time classic tracks, but you're starting to see there is something to this group. There's something more than just like a cool one album that they did. And the producer already is fucking straight fire. He's already starting to produce stuff that's like, for hip-hop especially, in this era, remember, this is coming out in 2000. It's already quite advanced stuff. And crucially, he does draw in like Latin and African and all these different sort of like fucking... He's really good, by the way, Stu, at using movie samples and quotes of dialogue. And especially, by the way, one thing about him, this is why I knew he was my favourite, not Vinnie Paz. His interludes on albums, where it's just him and there's often no Vinnie Paz rapping, are some of the best work on the albums. They're just these little crafted 30 seconds, a minute, whatever. They're these little artifacts of just brilliance of a little bit of production. And they're so catchy. They've always got those... He loves to do that thing with women's voices where he sort of pitches them up. And then just makes it super evocative. And you know that sort of shit always works really well with the juxtaposition of like, this is hip hop. It's not just fucking rippity rap. It's hip hop, mate. So this is already a pretty good album. But I'm going to say for now, I'm going to put it C, but I might consider putting it B. But I do think the rapping lets it down a little bit. Then we will go to Visions of Gandhi. Now you can already see by this here, we're starting to get there. By the way, album guests. Cannabis, before he was a meme, when people actually liked him. By the way, Stoop the Enemy of Mankind did produce one of the best Cannabis albums. Cool G Rap, who's obviously a legend of the game. You have a whole bunch of people. Raz Kaz, Tragedy Gaddafi, if you don't know that guy. There's a whole bunch of people here. Again, people from Planetary. Ill Bill, that's the guy who's the producer I was talking about before, rather. There's a whole bunch, the non-fiction members. Oh, this is a legit one already. This is already legit. Like, this is where already Stoop is already hitting his peak. He's already like one of the best producers in hip-hop at this point in time. He's just putting out classics. There are so many good tracks on this album. Kubla Khan's a banger. Roy's Animal Rap with Cool G Rap is a classic. Rage of Angels is a really good one. A lot of these ones... by the way, these are the albums where you don't need even to skip stuff. You can just listen to them all the way through. So that one I'm going to immediately put B, and I'll consider even A for that one. But Vinnie hasn't quite gotten there. Legacy of Blood. Now, this is very interesting because Vinnie has made a big leap from the first albums, but he hasn't quite percolated yet. He's still kind of doing that, like, his tone isn't quite right. He's still rapping very, very quickly with a lot of material that he's just throwing at you shotgun style. But I'll tell you what, the production, this might even be, for production, this would be S. I mean, this one has so many classics. Age of the Sacred Terror, unbelievable. Save Yourself, probably the one of the album with Killer Priest. Both of the On the Eve of War and the On the Eve of War remixes are fucking unbelievable. Philosophy of Horror. Oh, this is a true classic, this album. Like, I might even though the rapping's not as good, I'll put it A for now. I might even consider S for that one. There's a long time that was my favourite Jedi Mind Tricks album. I've listened to that album many, many times in my life. Right, then we are going to go to what basically might already be my favourite. Servants in Heaven, Kings in Hell. This was, I think, where they peaked as a band. You had Sean Price there, R.A. the Rugged Man. Are you kidding me? This was really fucking good. This album is straight fire. This is one where I'm not even joking. There are so many classics on here. Like Shadow Business is an incredible one where it's talking about like the way people in China are forced to work in a fucked up scenario. Razorblade Salvation is where he takes, I think, like something mad, like, isn't it like a Sufjan Stevens track or something, and sort of reworks it to be about how he thought about committing suicide. These early ones are just incredible, hard body fucking boom bap. This is an amazing one about the sort of telling from the perspective of a soldier in Vietnam and how he mind fucks himself into believing it's good and all the consequences when he comes home. When All Light Dies is another one where there's just an amazing female artist on it. This is so good. And the interludes are just fucking unbelievable. This is an immediate S tier. This is an immediate S tier. This is one of the best hip-hop albums. I would nominate this for like best hip-hop album ever. Not even from Jedi Mind, ever. Hip-hop. Both of them are just, the overlap of their skill sets are incredible, and they're both peaking as artists. It's really, really good. His material's excellent, and the production is fucking bonkers. It's bananas, Banenas. Then we've got A History of Violence. Another fantastic album, by the way, 2008 here. Where is that one? History of Violence. Spoiler, that's going into the S tier immediately. This is also one where him and Vinnie are just cooking the whole way through. Now, sadly, Just Allah comes back, but it's such a good album, I can even sort of forgive Just Allah on this one. That kind of says it all, doesn't it? So, the amount of classics on this are beyond number. Monolith, unbelievable track. Heavy Artillery, one of the best ever. Death Messiah is a fantastic track too. This is another one where, look, there's not as many tracks, but you don't skip anything here. You listen to the whole way through, even at the start, Deathbed Doctrines, mega. Every track's almost amazing on this one. It's genuinely one of the best hip-hop albums I've ever heard in my life. You've got loads of people again, Planetary People, Demos, Block McCloud. There's loads. There's just so many. Easy S for that one. As I said before, the troublesome Violence Begets Violence, because it is quite a good album in its own right. If I didn't know about Stupid, I didn't know the history of the group, it's a good album. Vinnie Paz is very good on it. Just Allah's a bit whack. And some of the people coming on are good. I actually do think the production's pretty good. The Sealance guy seems like he kills it a lot. Almost all the Sealance joints are good. The Hypnotist Beast ones are pretty good. Beats ones. So it is good. It's also, again, not insanely long. 46 minutes. It's just not an amazing Jedi Mind Tricks album is the problem. So I think that one, I'm going to put it B for now. Vinnie's material could be A, but I don't think it has the magic of a Stupid production is the problem. Right, now we're a bit more modern. 2015, we're skipping all the way to here. The Thief and the Fallen, which already started this really amazing art style they've been using recently, which I really enjoy. Like that style. It's quite a pleasant one. This is one where I really appreciate some of the features. Like you have got R.A. the Rugged Man. Eamon's a guy they worked with a few times. This is a really good track by him where he's almost playing like the female role, as it were, singing over the top of in the whatever the chorus when Vinnie's rapping between it. Production's fantastic as usual. You got Dilated Peoples here, for fuck's sake, if you know them, underground rap group. Very strong, still a strong album, but more sort of an A. Listen, at this point, the production's very good. Vinnie's very good. Not everything's my favourite on this one. This is the one I've been bumping a lot recently. In the Coldness of a Dream, that is a stone cold GMT classic. Deathless Light, a very, very good one also. Fraudulent Cloth's really good too. So I think for this one, there we go. I'm going to go A tier for that at the moment. I like to be very discriminating with my S tier. This is really good. It's just actually, it's not as hard an album in terms of the rapping, believe it or not, and the production. It's more like, this is reminding me of some of the earlier stuff, like around here, where Stoop's trying, like I say, like Latin influences, and he's trying like minimalist stuff, and he's trying things that, he's just trying different genres, because he's just like I think he's just a genius musically in terms of hip-hop production. Then the last and most recent album is The Bridge and the Abyss from 2018, so there's been a big gap actually till they do the next album. It has Sean Price, who is obviously now dead. Sealance, the guy who I actually thought was pretty good on the album without Stoop, comes in as co-producer on a bunch of songs. This is a pretty good album. Not my favourite. Most of the ones with the actual features are pretty good, though. What would I even say is the best one on here? Wait there a second. Didn't I actually... Oh, there's another album. There's another one to go, that's why. I'm not even sure what I'd say the best one on this one is. Maybe When the Body Goes Cold? Legacy of the Prophet? Torture Chamber? These are pretty good tracks. So I think for this one, I'm going to say B for now, but I'll consider A. Let me think of this. And then, is that the most recent one? Let's quickly check. Right, obviously, it doesn't have it on Wikipedia, but we can look it up. Funeral and the Raven. Surely it is because you see the bird there, right? Yeah, it is. That's it. Okay. Right. Since I can't see the list there, I'll tell you the best tracks I think on this one would be... I mean, I actually played one to you before this show. There's one called Secondhand Smoke that's very good. The Escapist is pretty good. This one for me is very reminiscent of the album before it, the one The Bridge and the Abyss. These three actually quite almost feel like an unofficial trilogy, but this is the best one. I'd say this is the second best and the third best. They're good, but for me, they're not up with like these two here are unbelievable. And these three might be the best Jedi Mind Tricks albums, I think. So I think they peaked 2004 to 2008. So I think for that one, I'm also going to say B. That's all the albums. Now the question is, do I want to move anything around? This is where I'm actually a bit... If you notice, my problem is the early album Stoop is unbelievable, but then Vinnie isn't as good. And then this one here, Vinnie's incredible, but there's no Stoop. But some of the tracks are really good. That almost feels like it should be a C. I don't know about that, though. Maybe it should be... Actually, let me just reorder these ones. Yeah, that can be good. That can go there. You know what? Even though Vinnie Paz hasn't quite peaked... It's also, I don't think he has too many flaws. Like he's a bit more one note on this one, but I think I could go S as well. So then what else could we do? Maybe this goes to here. This seems more like it, because that seems like a much better album than these overall. Even though, look, this one, it's just I don't vibe with the tracks as much. Let me think. No, I think that makes sense. I'm trying to be fair to all sides here. Not fair as in like equal, but as in I'm trying to like judge Vinnie and Stoop and then the overall quality of the album. Like these are certainly the best 5 albums. I might be being a bit unfair to this album here then though. But the problem is I don't want to take, these two have just such wonderful production, even though it's not necessarily hard hip hop. It's just very good music. I don't think I could ever put it below B. And Vinnie's very good on the tracks too. So I can't put that below. And is this really worse? In a Jedi Mind Tricks context, it is, but the album is actually very good. I think this might just be it. I have 3 S tier. Let me see what the order of these. Might even put that one there, I think. I think this is my order. Yeah, this is my order. These are the 3 best ones. These ones are good. If Vinnie had been better here, maybe that even could have been S, but couldn't. This is just a really good album. It's just not their peak. They're trying other things. These are a bit more hit and miss. Still very, very good. The quality, by the way, and the production, actual sound of the production is just leveled up over the years. This is just a really good hardcore hip-hop album if you want it. This is sort of a flawed gem. If Vinnie had been a bit better in some of the features, it could have been a better album. By the way, delete just laugh any of these albums. Some of them can all probably go up a spot. And this is just a very amateurish initial one, where some of it's even before they're like professionals and they're just trying things out and they're figuring out who they are as rappers. Yeah, that's going to be my tier list, I think. There you go. Without the noble families of the Italian city-states, you may never have heard of or been able to appreciate the art of some of the greatest Renaissance artists of all time. And similarly, my content on this channel, which I consider art, is kindly supported by Ibradiation and the rest of my Patreon supporters. Do you want to choose one of the topics that I might focus on next in a video? Maybe you want to ask me a question that I'll answer in a video AMA. Do you want teasers? Find out who the upcoming guests are for Thorin Curry. Maybe you want to take part in one of those private, never to be released, recorded for your benefit discussions with me one-on-one, where you can talk about almost any topic, assuming it's appropriate. Well, if any of those perks or others tickle your fancy, heed this call to action and join Thorin's side today at the Patreon link in the description box below.